What are your no-nos when it comes to dating? Story 1. You can tell a lot of a guy by how he treats the people in his life. If he ignores them or treats them poorly, chances are he will do the same to you. I'm sure there are exceptions and such, but in general, it's always good to see how someone treats the people around them to determine how they might one day treat you. Story 2. By the way, I'm married. I'm up to fucking 6 of these and 4 more who weren't married but did have girlfriends/partners. I'm so fucking sick of this poly bullshit. At this point, I just get up and leave the table. Story 3. Pettiness and getting even. People have accidents and bad days. It doesn't warrant you getting to do something back to get even. And if you feel the need to keep scores so you can save up, just go. My brother dated someone like this. It was a horror story hearing how she justified her behavior towards him. Another big one is unable to forgive and unwilling to lose an argument. My first GF would constantly go back to arguments that ended days ago because she thought of something else to say. She never let anything go and would argue the same things until I just gave up. There was never an I'm sorry, just, well, that's not what I experienced, and in time it just ruined a lot of otherwise good times. One day she was starting up arguing about something that happened 2 weeks ago, and we had already had 3 talks about it, and I just cut her off and dumped her. Immediately ghosted and went no contact. I never felt so weightless. Story 4. Lots of people saying my ex on here, so I'm going to dig down a little deeper. The most consistent red flag I've ever seen was some version of nobody has ever treated me this well, or it's so unique for someone to actually care about my happiness. I've heard things like this from 6 or 7 people I've dated over the years, and without fail they leave me or cheat on me and wind up in a relationship with someone who treats them like shit. Do not mistake disingenuous flattery for actual appreciation. If someone has a track record of exclusively dating abusive people, there's almost no chance you're going to break that cycle. Don't put that burden on yourself. Story 5. Honestly, disrespect, like copping attitude, flipping out, and being mean for little to no reason. It's crazy the amount of women I've come across that think it's perfectly acceptable, or even cute, to just be a total asshole because they're in a bad mood. It will immediately make me look at her different. If they can't control their emotions in an unprovoked, mundane scenario, and will resort to irrational behavior in the heat of the moment, they will turn into total demons during any kind of real disagreement or dispute, even if you're totally composed and respectful. The scary part is that anything they can do without consequence will be on the table as an available course of action, no matter how despicable. You could be met with intense repercussions for simply slightly pissing her off, and if she can get away with it, expect it. Story 6. No highly promiscuous pasts. I understand it's the past, but if you willingly tell me you've been gangbanged by a group of guys, then I'm absolutely never dating you. LOL. Story 7. Oh, I have a few. Gold digger. They are trying to figure out how much you make throughout the entire first date. Figure out my name first. Then, maybe I can tell you really what I do for a living. I'm in IT as a CTO and told many a date that I'm on an IT help desk. Well, I do on occasion set in on a call or two. Still hung up on the ex. You can just tell that they want to get back with the ex and you have no chance. Man-hating. This is the second part of the hung up on the ex. They hate the ex so much that all men are bad and should have their nuts cut off. Looking for baby daddy. Their ex took off never to be seen again, and now they want a baby daddy for their babies. Story 8. For me as a woman, it's an incompetent man. There's nothing worse in the world than dating a person who is an idiot. You'll find yourself doing everything in the relationship and having to pick up the mental load because your partner is just slow. Story 9. If I'm just dating you, do your thing, I'll do mine. If we vibe and get committed, my boundaries are clear and communicated. It's not controlling to say I'm not willing to remain in a relationship that crosses my boundaries. It's a self-respect and self-betrayal thing. Story 10. I won't date anyone without their own place, their own car, and a job. The car thing may be optional for some people and places, but so live IA must have a car area. As for having their own place, their place thing can include having roommates, so long as those roommates aren't their parents or their ex, and so long as their place isn't them living in their car. I might sound elitist, but I'm over 30 and too old and tired to date someone without the basics. Story 11. Not respecting hobbies that they don't share, not respecting alone time, or just being resentful that a few hours out of the week are spent doing something separate from one another, trying to cut out any friendship that involves the opposite sex, regardless of what friendship actually means. The list goes on. Story 12. Personally, mine is lying. Not white lies, such as lying about a surprise, but lying about how I look. I want a partner I can trust, and I have one who will tell me that something looks bad on me. I appreciate a person who will tell me the honest truth over lying to me and making me feel more insecure. In turn, lying also applies to cheating. I don't care if they talk to someone else, no longer romantic, and I don't care if they talk to their ex, but if it's cheating, I won't tolerate that. Another no-no for me is when they don't feel like they can talk to me. If I can talk to someone about my personal feelings and issues, I hope they can do the same. If we can't talk about those, how will we get through fights and arguments? Story 13. Never dating a pushover again. I dated a guy who was extremely nice to me and showered me in compliments. And at first I really liked this because I've been with not-so-nice guys before, and I thought this was what I wanted. However, he very quickly proved to me that there really is such a thing as too nice. He was a complete ass-kisser to both me and other people. I watched other people walk all over him all the time. It eventually became a deal breaker. I need someone who can stand up for themselves, have a pair. I'm not saying I want an emotionally unavailable jerk who's going to dominate and control, but a guy who has no confidence in himself is a complete turnoff for me. So now I see a constant showering of compliments as a red flag. For the record, he was a nice guy, and I wish the best for him. But I just couldn't do it. Story 14. Don't get super invested in someone until you have a reason to. Draw boundaries with them, assuming that they might decide to leave whenever. When they show that they're willing to invest more and you feel the same way, then it's time. Story 15. Very clearly needing mental health help, but refusing to do anything about it. It tends to dominate most conversations, and then they emotionally depend on you to make them happy. It's exhausting and really hard to get out of, because they latch on so quickly and persistently. Story 16, dating more than one person at a time. Drama. Example, jumping to conclusions. Just because I don't send you a text during the afternoon does not mean that I'm not interested in you anymore. I have things that I'm trying to do, goals I'm trying to accomplish. Please respect that and don't assume anything. Story 17, kids. I was open about that. I didn't want to have kids and wouldn't date someone who had kids or wanted kids one day. Not trying to waste anyone's time, but I've always known I didn't want to be a dad. Joke's on me, my partner has 11 horses, we live and breathe it, they take up a lot of time, but it's great. Story 18, saying I love you very soon, like after a few dates or talking for a few weeks or so. My ex did that, and it was 4 years of hell with him. It also doesn't help that I often struggle with identifying romantic feelings versus platonic ones, so it puts me in a weird position where I don't want to lie and say it back because truthfully, I don't know if I love you. I just know that I feel something vaguely in that direction to you, and I like it. But I also don't want to risk alienating the other person by explaining how complicated my feelings are. So in short, I don't like it when people say, I love you so fast, because truthfully, I don't know how I feel about you yet. Story 19, lack of respecting each other and no holding grudges. Anything but being kind, respectful, open, loyal, and loving to each other is a no-no for me. I also don't like talking about past relationships I've had or things I've done with other guys. It's in the past, and now I'm with someone, and he's the only person I want to focus on. If he asks about it, that's fine. I'll just try to give a short answer and vice versa for him. If I ask, then I just want to hear about what I asked, but I wouldn't like if he randomly brought them up. Story 20. Not sure if I'm wrong, but he does social media as a hobby like Snapchat and TikTok. Would post funny stuff or shitpost, so he's like a comedian in a way. He would post throwbacks often like friends, family, and I get it because it's funny, but most of it would be his exes, and that got old quick. Story 21. Lack of respect or basic courtesy, to me or anyone else actually. Open relationships or weird dynamics that could be assimilated to this immature communication style, not having personal hobbies or goals, and coming on way too strong. Story 22, negative about small things for no relevant reason. An ex would complain about Starbucks even if all I did was show up with an almost empty coffee. 3/4 of the time. My partner now happily treats me to Starbucks, no hesitation. Don't know why, but that small lack of negativity makes a difference in my day. Story 23, how fast they begin to delve into their past. Once talked to a guy for a month before we talked about our families in detail. Once met a guy for 2 hours and he told me how he slept with his ex-best friend's sister just because he could. Guess which one got a text after first date was over? Story 24. Here's my sad tale. I told a gal I was seeing that the nearest school to her residence employed my sister as a teacher, grades 1-8. Did Ms. Passive-Aggressive say, oh, my neighbor's son is a student there? Nope. She instead treated what I said as possibly untrue and in need of verification. So next time I'm over at her place, I'm treated to said neighbor, a drunken loudmouth crackhead, gleefully telling me her son was one of my sister's students, but he didn't like her. Yeah, please don't think I'm a liar for no damn reason and treat me as such. Story 25. Extreme procrastinating. I didn't realize it was something that bothers me. Recently, I broke things off with someone because they constantly said they were going to do certain things and they never did months later. It didn't matter what it was. I just felt like I was getting a glimpse into a possible future together and saw them not ever following through on anything. Don't want to feel like I have another child to get after. Story 26. I hate passive-aggressive people or anyone who hides their intentions and tests you or plays mind games. That shit is for children, not adults. I hate the fact that I cried over a man. Not even a man, though he was 19, but an immature and insecure boy who refused to wear deodorant, or who made me cry and humiliated me at my birthday party after he told everyone about an argument we had over me disliking Genshin Impact, even though I told him it was stupid and we should squash it. But no, he decided to bring it up at my birthday party and laugh in my face and smirk as I held back tears from being openly humiliated and treated like shit in front of my friends who were cringing the entire time, while he talked shit about me being stubborn and dull and not that bright at times. I wanted to date a man, not a little boy who I had to beg and insist to wear deodorant so that others wouldn't make fun of him. Needless to say, that was one of the myriads of reasons for me ending the relationship. Story 27. In the first times out on dates, I check how they treat the staff and just overall how they react to people that just pass by him or many interactions that happen. You can really see so much in just a few interactions. Also, if they don't like dogs and animals, I can't date you. Sorry, my future puppies are priority. Story 28. Inconsistency. Overly shitting on their exes, especially if accompanied by thinking they did nothing wrong to contribute to the breakup. Hot and cold behavior, aka avoidance. Never again. Too hurtful and not worth it. Repeated bad hygiene. Once, at most twice, it's unfortunate. More than that, it's already becoming a pattern. And probably being repeatedly unkind or rude to randoms for no reason. Story 29. Are you talking about dating or being in a relationship? The comments seem to be more relationship-oriented, as in they have already gone on several dates and are in a relationship. For dating, how he treats waitstaff, parking attendants, bartenders, etc. If he is rude, dismissive, or tips poorly, that's not a good sign. But neither is flirting or being overly fake friendly. Also, anyone too clingy and attached right away. Story 30. I haven't been in a relationship yet, but if I were in one, I'd say screaming, calling me out my name during an argument. I've seen it between my parents before, and I absolutely hated seeing/hearing it. There are better ways to get you POV across during disagreements that don't involve disrespect. Story 31. It might just be the city I live in, but when I was dating, I found I was planning the first meeting, going to a time and location that was convenient to the women and constantly dealing with them being later than 15 minutes, forgetting about the first date, ghosting, or some version of "you are gonna hate me." My advice for my city, at least, is to always have a backup social plan for the area. So if you drive to the other side of the city, your day isn't wasted. Also, not giving people like that a second chance, because I have found that if you let people like that into your life, you will have other boundaries violated. Story 32. When they have little interest in hanging out with you or too much interest in hanging out with you. I had one BF who told me hanging out one-on-one is boring, and another who would have a meltdown if I wasn't available at the same time every day for the whole week. I had zero space. There is a happy medium, folks. Story 33. Lack of empathy. I have dated 2 people now who have just been so disgusted at me when I have a hard time. I didn't constantly push emotional labor on them either. Just seriously, the kind of person who loves and wants a relationship with you until you are having a hard time, and then tells you how negative you are and how they can't take on emotional labor. Even when, like me, I was dealing with my own brother best friend dying in his 40s and was kind of losing it for a minute. Relating to, I would never, ever ask for something from someone I wasn't willing to do myself for them. The annoyance at my own issues I've had time to time after months or years of dating someone. It means a lot when someone is there for you at your worst and when you are actually not at your best or most attractive. Crying is not attractive. Being down is not attractive. But having empathy for someone else is what matters to me. The good times will not last forever, and the bad ones are what matters for a partner to be there for you. Story 34. Lying. Over years, I've learned that this is the single most reliable indicator of trustworthiness in a person. Habitual liars always tend to do worse things than just lie. Always. Not giving me space. I don't need to constantly be catered to or to cater for you. There's a timeline between companionship and dependency. I will not tolerate someone being dependent on me, nor I on them. It's unhealthy and not what I'm looking for in a relationship. If I wanted that, I'd get a dog. Disrespectful attitude or unhappiness. If you feel either towards me, it's time to move on. Even though experts agree that this is a sign that things will not work in the end, the moment you recognize that you no longer respect your partner or recognize them no longer respecting you, you need to take a hard look in the mirror and ask yourself where the relationship can go from there, the brutal truth, and then proceed accordingly. Story 35. Just be upfront and honest about your intentions. If you're just looking to mess around, stop trying to mess around with people who don't share your same intentions. Respect people enough to not waste their time when your goals don't align. If you can't be committed to one person and find yourself cheating, do some soul searching and figure out why you behave the way you do. Stop getting into relationships. People really need to take accountability for their actions and behavior. At a certain age, childhood trauma is no longer an excuse to be toxic and abusive. Go to therapy and work it out. Story 36. When the thing is, I am a psych major, so there is no no-nos. I've been with my partner for 2 years now, but basically, if I'm going to base with this comments, he has some of those, such as anger issue, lying, never cared about people, and etc. Being a psych major, that's not even a red flag for me because I myself understand my partner even more with those issues. And luckily, he is willing to learn and adjust every time we had this lecture. Moments, haha.